Cage Free is marketing 101. It is epic BS.
Really?
Yes. And I didn't realize this until I actually kind of got involved in the regenerative agriculture movement. And I recognized where our eggs come from, right? We eat a lot of eggs. I like eggs. I was inspired by Rocky all those years ago, where he cracks open his dozen raw eggs and drinks it down before he goes running through the streets of Philadelphia. That'd make me barf, by the way, but that's a conversation for another time. So, eggs were always just those. You get them in your styrofoam, white eggs, and that's your eggs. Cage Free was like the next generation. Now, here's something interesting. We've all seen pictures of hen houses, right, where eggs are born. In a hen house, the size of the cage that those hens are in are 8.5 by 11. It's a standard sheet of paper.
They can't even move.
Right? But what we found is, so Cage Free means that they're still inside. They're just not in a cage. And interestingly enough, there was a research project that was done on this that showed that Cage Free, there was like more violence. There was less production. There was like these chickens weren't actually as healthy in the Cage Free environment as they were in the caged environment. Now, that's scary in both respects because the cage is horrible. To spend your entire life on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper.
Well, also, doesn't that make sense that there would be more violence if they're cage free? Because if they're caged,
they can't fight. Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know, as a very empathetic, animal loving person, I would assume that if they were more free, they'd be at least a little happier.
I don't think that there's a litmus test to test the chicken's happiness, but the way that I always pictured Cage Free after I did the research on this was like looking at pictures of a New York City subway depot before COVID, where it's like 1 million people packed into a tiny area. You can't move. It's just claustrophobic. It's not outside. It's underground. If someone farts, it just ruins the day for everybody. So Cage Free is not what we should be looking for.
So
for
really,
eggs.
it's a psychological, emotional tie to the consumer.
Totally.
When I think of it, I think, oh, they're roaming the grass, they're outside, they're getting sunshine and fresh air, they're running with their friends, like they're happy.
They have cocktail parties every night.
Yes.
Yeah. And that is the challenge with a lot of these labels. Is really how much of them are true impact to the health and the wellness of us and the animal, and how much of it is just BS marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Cage Free is absolutely one of those. So if you see Cage Free on there, definitely, look to the next step, which is, I think, where we're going to go with our next one.
Actually, but before we move on, question though, I don't know if you know this, but I'd be so curious to test the nutrient density or the profile of the eggs that are considered cage-free versus in the cage. And if they are happier, if they'd produce better hormones, if they'd have better nutrients because of that.
Interestingly enough, I did a deep dive into this one, and what I found is that by and large, there's not a significant difference between your caged, non-organic egg and your organic, free-range, pasture-raised egg. So interestingly enough, not a significant difference there.
In nutrition.
So really what we're talking about.
So really you're just supporting the efforts to keep the animals happier.
Yeah.
Basically.
Now again, I also believe that incremental wins equal, or small corrections equal big victories in the long run,
yeah.
right? So even though there's not a significant difference, there's a small difference. And so if we extrapolate that small difference to how much we consume eggs on a daily, weekly, monthly basis over a lifetime, there is a significant difference. But by and large, not a big one. Where the true value in looking at some of these certifications, especially on the egg side or the chicken side, comes in is the quality of life for that animal.
Right. Okay, so next one is free range.
Free range.
That's very on topic here.
It is. And you'd think, oh, well, cage free, so that's good. Free range must be even better. And it's really not. What free range is a classification that says that a chicken farm, a hen house, has been audited, and that rancher or farmer has put in a door giving that chicken access to outside areas. That rancher or farmer never has to open the door. So this is one of those bullshit type of classifications where you go through just enough hoops to qualify for something, but you don't actually have to prove anything. So
So you can have a door, but you don't have to actually prove that the animals are going outside
correct.
or that you're allowing them to go outside.
Correct. Now, and I'm not a chicken farmer, so I don't know if there's additional labor, if there's additional cost basis in allowing those chickens to go out and then having to bring them back in or what that is. But it would appear from all of the research on this one that it's just a door that says free range. That's it.
Interesting.
Yeah, a little
Okay.
sad.
A little bit. All right. So pasture raised then.
Pasture raised. Pasture raised is definitely the gold standard when we get into this, but there's no USDA classification for pasture raised. So that's really a designation that a farm has taken upon itself. Now, there are certain certification programs within egg producers that'll say like certified humane or things like that. So what we really want to look for is a pasture raised organic certified chicken. And what that does is we know that that chicken has had plenty of time outside. They can forage, they can eat naturally, they can scratch. There's like dust baths that chickens take. So there's all these different things that we know that pasture raised bring to the livelihood of that chicken, which ultimately makes them healthier, which ultimately hopefully produces better eggs, even though the data still seems to be a little iffy on that one. But yeah, that's when we're really looking at chickens, when we're really looking at eggs, that pasture raised organic, and then an additional level of certification saying that a company's gone in and said this is a humane operation.
So it almost seems like it's also better for the soil.
Oh, absolutely. Much better.
Mm-hmm.
Much better.
If they're able to free range themselves.
Yeah.